All right. So this is Joe from Bottomless Bar. I want to tell you a little bit about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, MySpace Podcasts. I don't know who the fuck does podcasts anymore, but it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. And this is your mandatory call to action. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right. Hello again, ladies.
Hello, gentlemen.
I'm Joe.
Kara.
And I'm Jess.
And we're back here with Bottomless Bar again. Third episode, coming in hot. We've doubled our unique listener base, which I'm super stoked about. Maybe in a couple more years, I'll be able to pay off all this sound equipment.
Hell yeah, brother.
So we wanted to start the podcast off by talking about kind of one of our rules that we don't want to... we want to disparage the shit out of people, but we don't want any blowback. So one of the things we've decided, right? This is true, right? This is accurate, an accurate statement.
I know what we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about Chads and Ninas.
Oh,
Chads
yeah.
and Ninas.
We just wanted to clear this up.
So for our past, present, and future listeners, all men we will refer to as Chad.
Unless we know that we're cool to talk about you on this show.
Absolutely, unless we have consent, then we'll put that out there. Or unless you're just such a bad actor, we feel like the world needs to know about you.
Fair.
Right, and then all women are Ninas, and basically the same rules apply.
Yeah.
Right. So we just thought we should get that out there as a point of, to maybe put things in context, so to speak. And I think none of us have any corrections, any things we needed to clear up from the last two episodes.
No.
Yeah. Well, Jess, you had some things that you wanted to talk about specifically.
Yeah.
Well, should we do the drink now, or should we do the drink after the break?
Give Jess the floor, and then we'll do our drinks.
Okay. I just wanted to hop on because I just listened to part 2 of our second episode. I had to leave before that drink break, and so I didn't get to participate in some of the conversation, which was very fun to listen to. So we were talking about phones and phone use last week, and I wanted to share a little anecdote. So I was working last January 6th.
January 6th.
Yes, January 6th,
so
2021.
The January 6th.
The January 6th. And I was walking to work as it was going down. I had no idea that there was an insurrection going on. And when I got to work, our boss had it up on the projector. And no one was there, in the main room. When I unlocked the door to open, there was no one in the main room.
Was he cleaning an AR and counting his bullets?
But this thing was just on the screen. So that's the first. I was just watching it, and I was kind of what the heck is going on? And then
you didn't know what was going on at that point.
No, because it had just started to get covered as I left my apartment to walk to work, and so that was how I started work. And of course, it was very distracting. It was very difficult to focus on opening things. And
that's heavy.
I was I don't know if anyone's even gonna come in today, or if we're gonna have a ton of people, because we the place where we all worked is in a pretty progressive-ish area,
an
of
enclave,
the city.
You may say. Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if people would be we all need to get fucking drunk, or if everyone would be this is fucking scary, we're not going out. And there was this regular who I actually really like who came in. And I was on...
Chad.
Yeah, he was a Chad. And I was on my phone looking at updates like pretty consistently because there was this fucking massive historical terrifying thing that was happening. And like at the beginning of this shift, I still didn't know like how it was going to turn out, you know, like it's not like it had like wrapped up in any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Should
it
you
was
run
still
home and like
actively,
bar
being,
yourself in? Yeah.
like going on. And I remember shortly after he came in, he came up to the bar and I was like looking at news coverage and he was like, oh, I looked up and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just, you know, like, I assumed he would understand. And he was like, I feel like I'm like in high school, like you're like a little high schooler or something. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
What does that mean? Because he caught you
Because
looking
like
at your phone?
high schoolers are like obsessed with, you know, like being on their phones and like, you know, like I don't know, when I was in high school we like weren't allowed to have phones out, and so like people would like hide them in their like Uggs or shit, you know, and like you'd like text under your desk. And I was just like, that's just such a disparaging thing to say. And like on today of all days, you don't have any, like I'm not allowed to look at for news updates.
Right.
And I wasn't even like it's not like I was ignoring him. Like we were pretty dead, but like, and it took me like 1 second to like look up and see him there.
You didn't
and
immediately
apologize.
Acknowledge him
But it was
and stop
like,
everything you were doing.
What a weird comment. And it just like when you guys were talking about, you know, like how we particularly expect bartenders and other people in the food service industry to be like so attentive as opposed to any other job.
Do you share that sentiment, like what we were talking about?
Like, do I hold that expectation for people in the service
like
industry?
if you, like the same question I posed to Carl, if all your needs are met, and you see the person, your service person, this person that's serving you on their phone, do you have that tick, right? Like that knee-jerk reaction of being like, you know, somewhat indignant or like, what are they doing? You know, incredulous, I guess.
Honestly, I can't say that I've ever noticed.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So I was thinking about this, listening back to the episode, and I thought to myself, because in the moment I sort of surprised myself saying that I don't remember seeing it other than the last time when the lady was FaceTiming, which was different circumstance, sort of, but, and I think it's because I think as a bartender or as a service industry worker, I think when you're working and you do something like that, it does almost feel like you are that like little school kid. Like you feel like you're doing something wrong because there's this like negative connotation around.
You feel like you have to apologize immediately.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'm so sorry.
But in reality, I don't think that the average customer even notices.
I think it's generational. I think, and maybe this is incorrect and you can point that out if it is, as a member of a different generation than me. But
I was going to say the same thing, actually. You know.
I think I'm so numb to seeing people on their phones. Like, yeah, and I'm so happy I was able to grow up in like the last generation where we didn't have like the internet for a while and I didn't have a phone for a very long time, but like I don't notice, like, I mean, I do notice, and like sometimes it is interesting and depressing when you're like working a shift and like you see couples and they just like both are sitting and like staring at their phones and not interacting. Yeah. And
that's a very weird thing to me. That's how you know they've been together for a long, long time.
Yeah,
or they spend a lot of time together.
Don't give a fuck about each other.
Or also that, yeah. That's. I mean, that's where I'm trying to be a better person here, Jess. But. Yeah, I think, obviously they hate each other. That's why they're looking for gratification on their phones.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, that's like, so I'm not like completely numb to phone use. Like sometimes it does stick out as being weird, but I do think I'm used to people being on their phones.
And, you know, conversely, in the case of Nina, like our shared Nina, our colleague Nina, that was egregious. Bad Nina.
Can we just set her apart?
Bad Nina, bad.
That was an egregious abuse of everything we just said, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, what she would do is, you know, no one's needs were being met.
Right.
And, you know, you, me, and Carl, we all picked up the slack as a result of that, right? So, you know, that's kind of not what we're talking about. Right.
Right. We're talking about reasonable use of a phone, like in any work environment.
Yeah.
Like in any work environment.
Just sending a text message.
Yeah. Like if you don't have things to do, you should be able to do what you want.
Yeah.
To a reasonable extent. It's your fucking life. It's your, free
Yeah.
time.
Well, and then, tangentially, we don't necessarily get breaks either.
No.
Right?
Right.
When you're working behind a bar.
Correct.
And so you have to kind of get it where you can.
Yes.
Right? Like you can't, when you can, but your coworkers will look down on you, but you can't necessarily stop when you're hungry and eat.
Yes.
Right? If there's business, you have to attend to that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there's no sitting down and eating a sandwich.
And exactly. And also the businesses typically, at least here in Ohio, pay us as bartenders $5.25 an hour.
Yes.
So, in our downtime, there's only so much expectation that management ownership, I think, should have for us. Especially if the place is clean, all of our customers' needs are met.
Yeah.
There's nothing really for us to do, quote unquote. But anyways, I'm sorry.
I always wanted to start smoking when I was bartending.
Right?
Because that's not fair. I mean, I remember
take
when
smoke breaks.
when I first started working at the place we met, there was several women that smoked, and this is nothing against them, It was just like, I remember days when it was busy, and even manager Chad smoked. And so it was like, I mean, he would go out and smoke when we were busy too, and it was like, we could use you. I'm not, so there were just moments where I was like, fuck, like, maybe I'll just start buying a pack of cigarettes.
Get those candy cigarettes.
And just like not inhale.
Just light it and hold it until it's gone.
I mean, like, I used to smoke, well, air quotes, smoke in college to avoid conversation. Like, I would be like, fuck, like, I just need to go outside. And I would, like, this is a lot of times with my brother, and he'd be like, you want a cigarette? And I'd be like, yeah. And I've never inhaled a cigarette. But
you just light that shit on
I
fire.
would just light that shit up. And, like, it's like, because it makes you look like you're doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, oh, I'm sorry, Kara's not here. She's outside smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, she can't pour your beer.
Can I interject really quickly?
Of course.
Okay, but we were talking about how you don't get breaks.
Yeah.
And that reminded me something I wanted to talk about with you guys, because I saw someone posting on social media who was in the service industry themselves, I believe, a barista, and they were talking about, it was something like, if you have been in the service industry, do you notice that you have like a proclivity to just like eat standing up in your own house, like as fast as you can over the sink?
Oh yeah, I still do that.
Absolutely. In that regard, I'm completely broken.
I like saw that and I was like, oh my God, because the amount of times I'll have cooked a whole like nice meal and then I'll just stand and it's like the bowl is like sitting on my counter and I'll just stand and eat.
Just shoveling it in.
And then, like as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hate that about myself. And I hate that the service industry is, that's a symptom of my long years in the service industry. Before we move on, I just want to say one more thing about smoking. I worked at a place a few years ago, and it doesn't exist anymore. It's called Need. It was downtown, and it was KNEAD. And they had good food. Chef was a good cook. When I got there, it was very close to closing. And I was working in the kitchen there. It was one of the 4 part-time jobs I had at the time. And I was not a cigarette smoker. I haven't been a cigarette smoker since I was 29 or 30, so roughly about 16 years. But everyone would get smoke breaks, and it was perfectly acceptable for them to go sit down for 8 or 12 minutes and have a cigarette. Well, I remember one time in particular, I stepped out and onto the back, and I had a cell phone at the time, and I started a timer, set it for 8 minutes. And I was like, I wasn't smoking, right? But I was taking a smoke break because that's what everyone else in the kitchen did. And I set my timer going, and like 4 minutes, my manager came out and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, smoke break. And she was like, well, you don't smoke. And I was like, what does that matter? These people get to sit down and fucking chill every hour, and I just have to stand there, right, at my post. And it turned into this thing, like, I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating.
What did she say?
That was it. She was,
she let you finish your break, or was
yeah, but there was a tone when we interacted. You know, like I was the asshole, right? You know, because I was taking a smoke break without smoking, but everyone else was taking
Did you
breaks.
keep doing it?
Yeah, I kept doing it.
Good.
Yeah, but it turned into this pissing match, you know, between me and management. And at the time, I was making $12 an hour. And okay, here's another fucking tangent. But in order, you know, restaurant owners and managers have this incredibly high expectation, and they just throw fucking pennies at you, and I hate it. And not to get too far down this other tangent, but if this podcast can help anyone out there get more money or fight back against this mentality, I absolutely want that. You know, keep that level of pettiness up. People that you get what you pay for. And if that doesn't translate to employees, right? If you pay people shit and you have high expectations of them, that's your problem. That's a you problem, not a them problem. You know, don't try to fucking like export that bullshit expectation if you're not going to follow through and fucking pay them. You know, end rant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
/ end rant. Yeah. But what were we talking about before this? Before I completely just derailed. Cell phone use.
Standing up while
stand-
you're not
standing up
having
when you-
breaks.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the good stuff.
Well, here's a question for you two. And this is something that, so I told myself years ago that, you know, dollars are votes, right? So you know, in the 90s, the conversation about legalized weed was coming up somewhat. And I had found out, and I don't know who, but, you know, Coca-Cola, the corporation, was giving money to politicians that supported prohibition. I stopped buying Coca-Cola products, and I would try to tell my friends this. I was like, you know, I had realized in that moment that my money was supporting their politics that were anathema to my politics. And I realized that, you know, it's the same thing with Walmart, it's the same thing. So I try to live my life in that way. So and here's my question. If you two, say you have a close friend that works in a restaurant, and this restaurant has a history of treating people like shit, do you still go there? Right? Let's take it one step further. Like what's like your favorite restaurant that you love going to, and you realize that the chef is harassing them somehow, or, you know, some petty smoke break politic bullshit, or isn't paying them overtime but is working them overtime.
Yeah.
Do you still go there because they have great fries or they got great drink specials? Do you still do that? That's my question to you.
Track record, I am very pleased that I get to say that I cut that shit out. There is one exception, and it is our favorite, or maybe I don't want to project favorite, but like one of our go-to cocktail joints in this city that I continue to go to, and I stopped for a while.
Is it BS?
Yeah. I stopped for a while. I did, but
Don't tell me anything bad.
it's not. I mean, it's not the worst, but like it's just, you know, every other time I've heard stuff, even if I don't know the employees, anytime something trickles to me, I'm always like, Dad, whatever. I don't need you. Like, it might hurt. There are a couple restaurants locally that like I miss, but yeah, that cocktail place.
You'll have to tell me that off the pod.
Yeah,
Because I like
yeah,
them. I
yeah.
don't want to.
Yeah.
That's the only one that
Well, the place that we
to.
got dinner from tonight.
Yeah, I've stopped going there.
I didn't go there for a long time, and then I was like, they've got my fucking favorite salad, and
yeah, it's a good salad.
And
the peanut sauce.
It's like, without sounding like nasty, like, I mean, they did some shit to their employees. Nothing like people in the kitchen harassing their employees. I'm not trying to compare apples to apples, but it's like,
Yeah.
to answer your question, I still go there.
It's a gray area.
Even though I know that they've done bad things.
Right.
Because Because they have my favorite salad. And I don't want to get emotional about it, but
Bro, if you cry on the podcast, that
Over
is
a
just
salad?
gold. That is gold.
no, it's like I'm actually friends with a girl that used to work there, and she quit. And
She told you all the stories.
yeah, and I know I have the knowledge in my head, but I like to make myself feel better when I go. I like to think like, well, there's people that still work there, and they still need my money, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
tip them,
Yeah.
and that makes me sleep at night.
Yeah.
So
Well, so it's a tough choice because you want to support a cool, quote unquote, cool place, right? And if they make good food, that makes it harder because if it's creative and thoughtful, that makes it harder, right? Because there's kind of an absence of that in our market, right? But for me, if I know these people, there are several restaurants. There are a lot of restaurants. If we spend enough time together, you'll find out because I'll say, well, I would prefer not to go there because of X, right? But restaurants that have treated me poorly, that I won't go back, and that I haven't been back. I was fired from one quite a few years ago now. I haven't been back into one of their places since. I've heard that they've reformed because I have two good friends that work for one of their properties. And, they have had good experiences working for them, but I still won't go. I just won't. I know people that work there now, and I just can't, because I have intimate knowledge about these people and how terrible they are. And I just can't. So.
yeah, it certainly makes a place less enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I have it's like one of my flaws. I'll burn a bridge so fast and never look back.
Take a note.
Wait, you?
I hold grudges.
Never piss.
I
Jess
never
off.
ever would have guessed that at all.
If I'm very forgiving with the right people, but at a certain I have a hard line that it doesn't take very much to cross.
Actually, you know what? I shouldn't be sitting here acting like I'm not that same person because I very much am.
Oh my god, I don't care. Whatever. You're dead to me. It's easy.
Yeah.
You could not
Just do
even
that shit.
you don't even have to say anything to my face. I could just hear it through the grapevine.
Dude,
and I'm
I'm thinking of some regulars right now for you that you've just been like,
oh yeah,
fuck you.
no, absolutely not.
Done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, Chad's?
Chads. For sure, Chads.
I mean, there's one Chad in particular. Yeah.
I'm thinking of one in particular. I wonder if we're thinking of the same Chad.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of a... Wait, is this something that we want to talk about tonight? Basically customer interactions, right?
That's like the whole business.
But flirting, right? When it's appropriate, when it isn't. How do you approach it? How do you deal with it? When is it welcome, right? Because I think we all know when it's not welcome, right? But when is it welcome? If you're a customer, how do you approach that? This may be a little difficult for you, seeing as how your significant other is.
My pod mom's here.
Yeah.
Mama.
Oh, the pragmatic choice. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, this was something you were curious about, Jess.
Yeah, I was. I mean,
Right.
if you want to talk about
Let's
it.
get into it.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's really interesting because I think I have a very black and white almost feeling towards it, which I carry for myself and I don't project on other people. Like if I know that my opinion on it isn't going to be held by all.
Let's take it as your perspective if you're working.
I do not, and again, I'm going to say this with a preface of, I know we're talking a lot about ways to be better customers or what a service industry experience is like. So I don't want anyone to think I'm representing a bunch of people, but for me personally,
Your own perspective. Yes, exactly. Yeah, for
all
sure.
Jesses
Personal
out there
experience.
feel this way.
Don't fucking flirt with me at work. Full stop. That
Even if it's someone that you may be interested.
I mean, it's hard.
Sidebar. Do you think Chad Daddy is attractive?
When I was listening to the first episode, the discussion of whether or not he looked like Thor or like a Marvel hero.
That was
which
cruel.
one?
He did.
Okay,
He's more. He's not. Okay, Chad, if you're listening, if you saw the post,
He's not. It's fine.
If you saw the post, it was just a joke. I don't think you look like Fat Thor. I do think he could be.
Okay, Chris Hemsworth is fucking hot.
No,
first of
but
all.
Even
fat.
a little
Yes,
tubby.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Well, and that was my point.
Yeah.
That was my
And
concession.
Chad Daddy is not. Chad Daddy is fit. I don't personally think
Tell him.
he is like that attractive. I don't think he's unattractive.
Okay.
Though.
The question.
I can
Yeah. The
see
question
why
is if it.
Okay,
Why am I
but-
protecting him
okay,
so much?
Okay.
Is he attractive or not?
So, I mean,
Desert Island.
I have a very low,
Yes.
I have a very low bar. I would sleep with a lot of people. Like,
Oh.
I'm not
Do you
picky.
hear that?
I'm not
Here we
picky at
go.
all. I'm a slut. It sounds like a slut.
You sound like a big slut.
I sound like a big slut. Shout out to one of our listeners.
Nina.
No, okay, so yeah.
So
And
even if you're
regarding
attracted- yes,
regarding
even if there's potential
there
there.
are definitely, like I have been flirted with in ways that haven't made me feel like uncomfortable. But when I am working, I don't want to be flirted with. Like that is not what I'm there. Like
You're at work.
I'm at work. And I mean, it just. So I am currently in a monogamous relationship. I've been in a monogamous relationship almost the entirety of my time in the service industry, all of the service industry. So, I mean, of course that's going to color that experience, but like, I mean, I've had some very respectful people like give me their numbers finally after so many years of disrespectful, gross people interacting with me. And that, it's fine, but it's never comfortable. Like it's never like I'm like, oh wow, this is great. I feel good about myself. It's
Do you
like,
do you feel like a certain sense of obligation there
because
to reciprocate?
I feel because of the position I'm in where I am providing service and I know the customer knows that they are paying my bills in a way that's very particular to the food service industry and bartending.
That speaks to the inherent imbalance of power,
Correct.
right? In the
Correct.
customer relationship with the service person.
Yes. So even
Yes.
in the most respectful of situations, it is still uncomfortable for me, and I prefer that it just doesn't happen. And I don't say that as a blanket statement of how I think, everyone
Generally.
should interact
Yes.
with every bartender, but this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I know that I feel this way very strongly with my experiences, and I know that you guys will not necessarily feel the same way, and I think this would be an interesting thing to explore. But
Sure.
yeah, that's how I feel.
You think we're sluts?
I think we're all sluts.
I'm a big slut. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, sluts are the best.
So my
They make the world go
The
round.
best people.
and no glibness, I'll just share a story from a long-term monogamous relationship I had in my 20s. Everyone has a number, right? I think the kids call it body count, right?
Oh my god.
Right?
I don't
No,
know. That's very
Right?
aggressive. I
Like-
know what you're talking about, but
I've
not
got a
referred
number,
to
but
it.
I
Right?
don't
Like
touch.
everyone has a number,
Yeah.
right? My number, it's on the high side, right? I have been very fortunate. I don't want to sound conceited. I've been fortunate. And I don't know why. I still don't see it. But, gift horse, right? Like I'm not going to take it for granted. I like to have sex. I'm an adult male. That's just where I'm at. But with this lady that I loved her. I told her that. I actually meant it. I felt it. I believed it. I told her my number. I used to keep track. I told her my number. She freaked out. Hers was 4 or 5 times less than what mine was. And it was this pall over our relationship. And one of the things, like for the rest of our relationship, and I mean, 10 or 12 months. And I had tried to reason with her, and one of the things I said, trying to levy some type of logic into the situation to alleviate whatever she may be feeling, which, by the way, isn't my fucking problem. That's a strictly her thing.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson that came to me late. Anyways, what I said to her was like, well, do we have good sex? And the answer was yes. I was like, well, how do you think I got to where I am?
Trial
Right?
and error, baby.
Well, practice. practice,
Yeah.
right?
Talking
Like
about practice.
You know, and isn't that what you want in a partner? Like, sex is important, yes or no?
Yes, but it's hard. It's hard. The whole thing's hard.
Well, why?
Well,
Literally.
pun intended. Yeah, you heard it. We're sluts. Sluts. Sorry, we're sluts.
Did you get that one, Joe? All right.
I don't know. I think it's hard. I don't like thinking about people. I don't like thinking about people that I'm with having sex with other people.
I love it.
Even before you were with them.
Oh no, I hated it. I didn't like it.
So, like, any past experiences he may have had before you two even met.
Makes me feel ew inside.
Really?
Like a virgin.
Shut up.
She wouldn't still be with you if that were the case.
Yeah, that's true. I don't. It makes me feel weird.
I mean, that's valid.
It just does.
Cringe position.
I feel opposite.
But I like to tell everyone about. I like to tell my significant others about my experience.
Yes, I think it's.
But I.
Whoa,
hang on a
wait,
second.
wait.
I know it's not fair. Everything I say is not fair. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
She's self-aware. She's
It's fine. It's
self-aware.
fine. It's fine. But
It's not, though.
I have friends that are married to people that have never they've never discussed their sex life. They've never discussed people that they've been with.
Oh my god. Okay,
So
I
talk about a whole different extreme.
sex is so interesting to me. I could talk about it endlessly. I want to hear all the details
This is now
of
this is
everyone's
hey, for our
sex
listeners.
life.
This is now a sex podcast.
It's sex and bartending. It's the same thing.
Alcohol
Well,
leads to sex.
Service industry
Next we'll talk
is,
We
about
provide
babies.
good service.
for lack of a better term, is very incestuous. Like, it's like you just feed on each other endlessly. Anyone that's been in it for any
Yeah.
length of time. Well, I think just generally in the workplace, I think 50% of all relationships start in the workplace.
Yeah, it's a really high
You know,
number.
when you add stress, potential
That's what I was gonna say.
potential trauma bonding,
trauma
then
bonding.
alcohol.
Yeah.
These are generally,
Drugs.
very generally speaking, people that can't necessarily operate in a more controlled environment, you know, kind of pirate mentalities
What?
in the service industry. You
Like
get these people together.
workers?
Yeah, right. You know, you get these people together and, you know, shit happens. It turns into a bacchanal, right? You
I
had,
don't think you could say that word.
it's a generally speaking,
Okay.
you know, I would count myself among that group. I am definitely, you know, of a pirate mentality,
Pirate mentality.
you know.
Arr.
Yeah. Right? I would say that's accurate about me, right?
Wait, okay, so. Being flirted with while you're working
Yes.
as a bartender. Someone else take up the mantle.
So
How do you feel?
Well, I think I touched on this rather glibly in the first episode.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I again, I like to have sex. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Hell yeah.
At the risk of overstating it, you know, there are lines don't cross. Don't touch me. Don't
Right.
interfere with my job. There's ways to go about it. There's some people I just won't. You know, like
Okay.
there's.
Sorry.
Well, what's your question?
I was just because I feel like because we're invested in like helping customers as much as we are as helping people in the industry.
If you want to sleep with
Right.
your bartender, this is how you do it.
What are ways?
And this is how not to do it.
And this is how not to do it.
Not the recipe for sex, but like, what are ways that that's happened and you've been like, okay, this is like not inappropriate to me. Like this
Yeah.
is like, I don't feel like I hate this customer because of this interaction. I feel
Yeah.
like this is still like a good customer despite the fact that they want to like sleep with me, regardless of
Yeah.
if I want to.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't feel uncomfortable by this.
If let's say a woman, you know, I'm interested in, that I'm physically attracted to, the best way to approach me is very directly, right? Don't touch me across the bar. Be respectful, right? Say, hey, would you want to go out sometime? Give me your number. You know, that's it.
Yes.
That's literally it.
Yes.
You know,
And not like
and then don't get thirsty.
yes.
Don't
yes.
don't act desperate. Don't, you know, try to export any
I
of
fucked
your.
the shit out of you
And
across the bar. Maybe that'll work.
I mean, it depends. It depends. But again, just generally speaking, just be direct.
Yeah.
Be direct. Women can be creeps.
Yeah.
I've had women stand at the open ends of bars and leer, and it's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
I think one of the differences, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's no inherent threat of physical harm from women to me, right? And I think that's just speaking very generally to the dynamic between men and women in interactions like that.
You're socialized into feeling like there is none. Because, of course, anyone can be harmed by anyone.
Absolutely.
But you don't.
Absolutely.
Your body is not registering a possibility of a threat.
Yeah, I think in a vacuum,
Yeah.
right, a
Yeah.
woman of equal size and weight has less strength than I do. This is a general statement. I'm not an ologist of any kind. I'm not even a fucking mixologist.
He's so strong.
Yeah, I am strong. I will fight both of you right now.
Joe has been requesting a fight with us.
Well, you
He
specifically.
wants us to fight, I think.
Has he not been haringing you for a fight? Or is it just me?
He wants to fight me?
I thought it was both of us.
No, it's just you.
It's just me.
It's just you.
Oh.
Well, it's because you're so much taller than I am.
Well, Kara's taller than you.
Not really.
No? Kara, am I taller than you?
I don't know.
I thought we were like the same.
We've got to go B2B, back to back.
I thought we were very same voices.
We'll
same
do that on
heights.
Drink Break and we'll report back.
Yeah. Okay, wait, Kara.
So
Your opinion, because you also identify as a lady, and you are
Pod Mom is
mostly
very interested in this part of the conversation.
getting interactions from.
He's got his hat off. He is stretching. He's stretching.
It's my time to shine.
He's not making eye contact.
You can mute me if you'd like.
Anyways,
What's the question?
The question
Carl.
is, like, how do you feel about being hit on while you're working, specifically behind the bar in this situation?
love
appropriate ways,
it.
inappropriate ways. You love it.
Of course you do.
I love it. I like it if it's nice. If it's not nice, I don't like it. I
Wait,
also
define nice.
like you're saying, like I like just like
Respectful.
I like a respectful, genuine, fluid conversation happening.
How do you feel about the direct approach? Let's say you're attracted to them, like in my example. Let's say you're attracted to them, and just say, "Hey,
if they said that to me?
yeah, hey, how are you? Would you like to get a drink sometime?
I think that's nice.
Here's my number."
That's nice. It's
Yeah.
better. That's the better than the alternative, which is
Just
creepy.
to lear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Just, like,
and
stare.
creepy. That's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
I'm not
Yeah.
into that. I don't know. Well, I don't know, Jess, maybe if you experienced this. I'm sure Joe did because other reasons. But I experienced a lot of people from my past that came into the bar that we worked at. That happened frequently, so that was hard for me to deal with. I don't like being in that position. Not saying that they were flirting with me, but they may even have came in with their significant other, and it's just like, fuck, man, you came into my work. You're, it's like you're in this tiny bar. There's only so many places you could go. I would often hide in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
There was
I remember that.
one time in particular when
Okay, so this is teetering on fucked up, right? Like
What?
fucked up scenario.
them coming into my work.
Well, you having to hide, right? You
Yeah.
having to alter your space
Yeah.
to accommodate
There was
them.
one time that I hid in the kitchen for literally hours.
Was I there? I feel like maybe not this time.
I don't think
but
you
there
were
was
working there
definitely
yet.
a time I feel like where you were like, I'm not going to be out here for this person.
Yeah.
Like, that's the person there. Like,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to deal with this.
Like one time someone came in and sat at the bar and I'm like, I can't. Because a lot of times it was a situation where, we live in this world where men think it's okay to ghost women. And,
I've done it.
don't ghost me
I've done
and then come into my work. Like, okay, here's the thing. Here's another thing. If you're a man from my past and you're listening to this podcast, you still
Ghosts
follow,
of Kara's
you
past.
still fucking follow me on social media, okay?
Oh.
I see that you follow me. I know that you know where I work. So then to me it's like you're intentionally coming into my place of business where chances are I'll be there because it's a Friday or Saturday night. and then you make me feel uncomfortable.
And how many other bars are there that you could go to?
So that's just like a little bit of manipulative activity going on, which I don't like and I don't stand for. But back to a lighter note, there was a time where a man that I guess you could say I ghosted. I'm such an asshole. I constantly flip the script on like what you do is wrong, but if I do it, it's okay.
That's twice now. That's literally twice now in the last like 15 minutes. Yeah.
It.
Yeah. Okay, so there was this time where this man, you know, it was just like a mistake from college, and and he.
A mistake from
I'm
college.
sure we all have someone who thinks of us as the mistake from college.
Yeah.
He had
I
texted
do.
me, and I.
My daughter's
you know.
mom.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Sorry, Joe.
Okay.
Is that too real?
Yeah.
Is that,
No.
well,
That's perfect.
I'm a fucking pirate, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Baby.
I'm a fucking pirate, baby.
Okay, can I get back to my story?
Yes, there was a guy.
I ghosted him, okay? Even though
Which is okay.
Yeah. But even though it wasn't actually a thing. But he came in, okay, so he came into my work, and so this guy walks up to the bar and goes, "Are you Kara?" And I said,
Oh, you said no.
I
didn't
said,
this.
yeah.
I was here for this because you told me, you were like, "I'm not Kara. You have to call me this other name."
What?
I remember this.
What?
Okay.
Kara.
I used to be, okay. Hang on.
So wait, what was the name?
I used to be a savage, but,
Used to.
well, like pre-pod mom, like I was a real savage in the dating world. But, so this guy came up to the bar and was like, "Are you Kara?" And I said, there was like a pause, and I was like, "No."
Did you recognize him
Oh.
in that moment?
Yes, I knew exactly who he
Uh-oh.
was. I was trying to pretend like I didn't know him.
Did you steal from him or something? Like,
No.
like,
He really wanted it, and I was like,
Oh.
absolutely not. Like, I had my like tequila goggles on at the bar when I met him. I shouldn't have exchanged numbers with him. He wasn't my type. He wasn't like anything I was interested in, but he was really into me, and I was like, I can't do this. And so I like blocked his number. Like I did all the things. He like followed. He was like,
did you tell him no?
He added me on Facebook.
Okay, well, this is his problem.
It was
then.
Instagram. Like he was like all over trying to, follow me online. Comes into my work. I don't think he did it intentionally. I think it was a coincidence. Asked me if I was Kara. I said no. And I'm like really fucking fumbling. And there's like no one at the bar. And he goes,
The look on your face right now.
"You're not Kara?" And I said no. And he goes, "Well, what's your name?" And I gave him my middle name.
Which is?
I said,
That's too personal.
Oh,
to
yeah.
be
So, okay, yeah,
anonymous.
fair enough, yeah.
no, I'll say it. I'll give you my social security number if you want. He goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Michelle." And he goes, "Yeah, Michelle." Like, he knows I'm lying, obviously. He goes, "What's your last name?" And I, like, looked around and I went, "Smith." You're Michelle Smith. Yeah, okay, never mind. And then we just, like, had this awkward banter of him clearly knowing that I'm giving him a false identity in order to avoid
And you
conversation
were
with him.
creating
You
it
know, I
on the
just,
spot.
like-
Yeah.
What did Michelle Smith do for a living? Like, where was Michelle Smith from? Like, is Michelle
Her
Smith half
lovers,
Polish,
her
half
dreams. Where was she on
Mongolian?
9/11?
Like, really exotic? Who's Michelle Smith?
Yeah. Like,
Do you know, I just had this like realization similarly, like just recently, that like cause like you're in like a public facing position bartending, right? So like
Yeah,
you
you can't
have
disappear.
regulars who get to know what you look like, even with a mask on. But like I had regulars, like my regulars at this old bar, like I knew them pre-mask, so they knew what I looked like with and without the mask. And
In the before times.
I just like forget that like when I see people in public and I'm like, oh shit, that's that person from the bar, they also see me and think the same thing. You know, I see them and I'm like, maybe they won't know me.
Yeah.
I have this like weird, like I can't like, I think I specially know them. And so I can, like, specially pretend to not know them and they won't notice me. Do you ever do that?
Like, you think that you can control.
Like they might not know me we've interacted the same amount. You know, like, every time I've seen them at the bar, they've also been present for that interaction and, like, interacting with me. Like, I was at the grocery store recently.
Sometimes I duck down aisles because when I'm out, I don't necessarily, especially during the day, right? Like, I don't necessarily want to see people. And to sidebar this a little bit, you know, my general kind of disposition when I'm not at work is get the fuck away from me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at work, you know, you're on
it's that
10.
mentality.
Exactly. Well, you're like on 10. You're on 10 all the time when you're at work. When you're behind the bar, you have to be engaging to a degree. You know, it is a people business, and you want to bring them back, right? And you want to get to know them and open up to them a certain amount. You know, when I'm not on the clock and I'm just, you know, I haven't shaved, I haven't, you know, brushed my teeth, and I'm just at the grocery store to get creamer, you know, for my coffee.
Yeah.
At 11:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing slippers.
Oh my God.
I don't want to exchange I don't want to exchange pleasantries with people
who you serve at your job.
And I just don't want to go up to 10 because I'm at like 1.5 at that point.
Negatives.
And I have absolutely ducked down aisles.
Yeah.
And like doubled back and pulled some like 007
MacGyver.
dumb shit. Yeah, exactly. To avoid like quick, like small talk, like banal interactions.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
I think that's called for. I think, you know, I think that's okay.
I think customers, I think this relates to like why I thought this question was interesting in the first place. And like a lot of what I think we will probably be talking about.
I thought you were going to say, and a lot of what I have to say is going to be interesting.
No, I think bartending in
Michelle
particular,
Smith. Can we create a bizarro
version of us?
A bizarro bottomless bar where we're all our own alter egos.
So would it be topless or would it be like bottom full?
Oh, that's a good question.
Wait, what if you know how
Michelle Smith.
You know how I go You know how I go by the nickname of Carl now?
Yeah.
What if he was like, "What's your name?" And I was like,
Carl. Dude, if
he's like, "That's funny because I have you saved in my phone here."
Wouldn't that have been fucked up if he like, oh, okay, no, Michelle Smith,
I don't know.
Then he like
texted
you, and then your phone started fucking vibrating right there.
Yeah, I blocked him.
My
so
coworker's name is Kara though, and this is her phone.
Yeah,
she's in the kitchen.
I think I told him I had a twin. I was like, "Oh, that might be my sister."
Oh, wow.
Sorry. If you're listening, I just wasn't that into you.
But yeah, okay, wait. So what I was going to say is, like, tying this all together, I just think it's interesting because bartending in particular, you're working in a place where for everyone else, it's playtime, right?
Exactly.
For me, it is my job. This is my quote-unquote 9 to 5. This is what pays my bills.
Keeps the lights on.
I have to deal with annoying, perhaps annoying coworkers, perhaps annoying management, perhaps annoying customers. Like, this is like just what I do to make money.
Exactly.
But for every single other person who walks in, it's playtime. And I think that is the core, like that leads to a lot of inappropriate assumptions about relationships, a lot of like feeling like you have to be people's friends. They're allowed to like friend you on social media. Like they're allowed to
that
flirt
was something
with
that
you
always
ways.
Bothered me too.
This is not, we're not
social media.
I might like you in this sense, but don't jump into the fact that you get to be a part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Women aren't necessarily like this, right? Women aren't as overt as men are, and I think that's socialization, right?
Yeah.
Women. It's very rare someone tries to find me on social media, and I'm of an age of before social media.
You're also hard to find.
Yeah, you are hard to find.
Women like men that are easy to find.
Do they?
Is that true?
I do.
I don't.
How else am I supposed to get into my research.
I feel like isn't the stereotype like that women of our generation are like very good at like cyber stalking?
Oh yeah. You want to get into a story about that?
Yeah.
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah.
One time.
Yes.
On Fire Island.
One time.
Oh, is it time? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
So I think we're getting the signs from Pod Mom.
we need a drink break.
Yeah, I think it's drink break. It's.
But hold on to your
Drink break or
panties because
hot?
we'll come back with a really
Come in
exciting
hot.
story.
yeah.
yeah.
Jess is sticking around for part 2, right?
Yeah, she'll be here.
A little longer. I really shouldn't.
Yeah, we won't make it. We won't make it
Well,
crazy.
well, yeah. It's up to you. You can. Margarita is one of my favorite drinks.
Same.
It's top 3 for me. It's fucking delicious. I love tequila. Tequila's my top 3 spirit. It's a sour, right? Primary component. Lime juice makes tequila, or makes margarita. How's yours?
Very good.
We put a little mezcal in ours tonight.
Yeah. Are we
Right.
recording?
We are recording, yeah. You said we should, so we turned it on.
Chihuahua.
We're back.
If you're listening
Michelle.
in Chihuahua, we love you.
Michelle Smith took a semester of Spanish. And
I took more than one. I don't want to get down a rabbit hole because I don't know as much as I used to, but I almost majored in Spanish.
oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, that's fun. Well,
It was way more fun than, math.
yeah. So our margaritas tonight, right? They're on the rocks. They're shaken. They're always shaken. The general rule in cocktails, and there are exceptions, of course, but the general rule is that anything with juice, right? Cranberry juice, orange juice, lime, lemon, anything like that, gets shaken. Anything that does not have juice gets stirred, i.e., martini, Manhattan, old-fashioned, stuff like that. That's why, you don't shake a dirty martini because it's not olive juice, it's a brine. But again, customer wants what they want. Michelle Smith wants what she wants.
To each their own, baby.
Exactly.
Baby.
Give it to them. If they want it, shaken, fucking shake it. So ours tonight, 2 ounces of Espolón Reposado. Reposado's aged 1 year. It's 2 ounces of that, 1 ounce of lime, ½ ounce Cointreau, which is an orange liqueur, ½ ounce simple syrup, and ¼ ounce of mezcal. Any mezcal will do. Espadín specifically, if you know your mezcals.
It's very good.
Yeah, and you have a little tahine. Yes.
Tajin.
Yeah, tajin, as
As they
the
say.
the Midwesterners say. A little tahine. Tahine is it's basically like a seasoning. It's dried chilies and dehydrated lime. It's ground up. It's really good. It's savory, citrusy, salty.
Yeah,
Good
it's
stuff.
good.
So yeah. So that's what we're drinking tonight. We're back from drink break. Unfortunately, Jess had to take off. She.
Wah, wah.
Her days are monetized, and she needs to do that to pay her bills. So, Kara, what are some of the things we want to do? We want to revisit the conversation we were having before drink break. I don't even remember what that was. You were talking about Michelle Smith.
Jess remembered what it was, and then she left us, so I can't remember. She has a young brain. I have an old brain.
Wow.
Dang it. You remember Pod Mom?
No.
Well, it must not have been good. Probably another shitty story about my old dating life, so let's not revisit that.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about, some of these, I guess, they're contingent upon Jess being here because I wanted to try and incite her again.
Damn it, Jess, we can't go on without you.
But one of the things we touched on before is putting in orders in, right, after the kitchen close. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of shitty, right? In your mind, as a service worker, is there a reasonable amount of time where that's acceptable? Right? Like you're the bartender, right? And you have someone that comes in. And they go, "Hey, I just wanted a basket of fries or something like that."
I used to say
it's 2 minutes after kitchen close.
Yeah, I used to say, and there might be some kitchen people out there that are going to listen to this and be pissed off at me, but I used to say 15 minutes was a fair,
That's a lot.
estimation, only because the way that I looked at it was the people in the kitchen had, everyone sort of gets like X amount of hours to open, X amount of hours to close. And it, this is all like it depends on what you're ordering. Like fries, I understand that. I've never worked in an industry with fries, but I assume that there's some sort of thing that needs to be turned on and off to make the fries.
Yeah, it would be a fryer.
Okay, so that might be different. But, like, let's say something very simple, like the place that we worked at had nachos. That was like a very simple thing. Like that stuff could be warmed up very easily. It's not like making a pizza, like it's not like
Right.
Cooking dough from scratch so something quick, chips, a quick thing that doesn't need to be cooked, I think is fair 15 minutes after to be like, hey, like, I know you're still going to be back there for a little while. And there were a lot of times where I would make it myself just to appease the customer.
Yeah, same. Well, from a customer's perspective, and, we touched on this a bit in the first part of this episode, but, I've dated a fair amount of people in the service industry that were also in the service industry. Mm-hmm. It just kind of happens, right? They're close by. You have this similar, shared stress experience. There was one lady in particular that she refused to go to a place if it was within 15 minutes of them closing, and before they closed, say we were going to X place and their kitchen closed at 10 o'clock and we were going to be there 10 minutes till, and my argument to her was, she's like, well, no, it's just rude. And my argument to her was always, well, it's not rude to the business owner. And I don't necessarily want to side with the business owner all the time. Some of them are malicious, so that's another rabbit hole. But, they're open till 10 for a reason. That becomes a kind of regressive scale, mm-hmm. right?
It's hard because I think that the way that I look at it, when I say 15 minutes, I sort of feel like that's more towards people that were already there and they like accidentally missed the kitchen being closed.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, let's say someone was there, already under the roof, and they're like, it's like 15 minutes past the kitchen closed, and they're like, oh shoot, I meant to order something.
Oh, right.
You've been here.
But they've already been set.
Like simple mistake, like,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as like more of like a casual, like, you're sitting at the bar atmosphere. I'm not working in a restaurant where someone's being seated by a hostess, and that's
right.
Totally different.
Right.
So that's different, but I do think that there was just an example that we had recently at a very popular restaurant recently that they weren't going to seat us. This is actually really interesting. I would like to get your opinion on this, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So this restaurant has been open for 2-ish years. They've gotten really big. It's a local restaurant. They got a New York Times article written about them, and they just blew up. Their reservations are booked a month in advance, but their bar is always first come, first serve. And so we're more casual people. We prefer to sit at the bar anyways.
Sure.
So, we were like, let's just roll up to this place around this time. They close at 9. We got there around 7. Well, that might not be true. We got there around 8, I would say. So it's about an hour before they close. And we were just going to sit at the bar. So the way it's funny, the way that this bar is situated, you could see the bar from the outside.
Okay.
So we drove past and I saw there were 4 seats open right in the center of the bar. And I said, perfect. Like, let's park. It was worth finding a parking spot. Let's park. So we parked, went inside. The hostess said, how can I help you? Do you have a reservation? I said, no, we were just hoping to sit at the bar. And they said, oh, there's a wait for the bar. And I said, oh, we just drove by and I noticed that there wasn't anyone sitting at the bar. And he said, oh, well, they're on their way. Mm. And I said, oh, I didn't realize that you took reservations for the bar. And he said, we don't. It's first come, first serve. And I said, okay, so I'm here and I would like to sit at the bar. And he said, well, they were here earlier. They put their name down in case seats opened. We put their name down. And we called them and they're on their way. And I said,
well, that sounds like a reservation.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
So I was pissed off about it. If I was anyone else, if I didn't have any like industry experience or whatever, I might have gone off on the guy. He said, "Can I put your name down?" He goes, "The wait's about 45 minutes." And I said, I was like thinking to myself, like, if we got there around 8 o'clock, wait's 45 minutes, that means you're going to seat us at 8:45 and the place closes at 9. So you're going to seat me 15. So I'm thinking the service is not going to be as good as it might be. This is just my brain spiraling.
Sure.
As it would have been if I had a full hour to enjoy this place. So he said, he wanted to put my name down. I said, "No, we'll come back another time. You know, like, I understand. We'll come back another time."
Yeah. Will you?
To be honest with you, I'm like, it put a sour taste in my mouth. It pissed me off because we've been to this place before and just walked in and it was no problem. If you're not going to take reservations, don't take reservations. So where my brain went was, it was a Friday. So like, to say this is a little crazy, but I was thinking maybe this, let's say he was a manager. Mr. Manager says it's a slow night. 4 bodies is better than no bodies. If they say they're going to come back in 45 minutes, that sounds good. We'll put your name down. But then he was in turn turning away, 2 people happy to spend money at the establishment. So another factoid before you give your opinion. So this particular place, you have to, if you reserve a seat on open table, they take your credit card. Because if you cancel, they charge $25 per person, which I think is fair.
Same.
So, but if someone's just walking in off the street, do you think they took their credit card number? Do you think those 4 people, he said, "Give me your credit card number in case you don't come to show up at the bar"? I'm guessing probably not. So if those people did exactly what we did, which was we walked in, we said, "There's a 45-minute wait, we'll go someplace else." And then he called them and they were like, "No, thank you. We already ate dinner. It's been, however long."
Yeah.
Then he lost those 4 people and then he lost the 2 of us. So he fucking fucked himself royally. And now I'm pissed off.
Well, in the service industry, it's hard not to. So wait, will you go back? Will you give him another shot?
I might. I don't want to make it black and white because it's like.
Is it likely? But the point is,
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Well, and this is, I guess, a message to young managers and booming restaurants out there. Be consistent. If you're in demand, don't be apologetic for that. It's hard if you're in the service industry. There's an immediacy to it. It's kind of mercenary in that way, where you need to get when the getting's good, for lack of a better term, and it's hard to know when to best deploy that mentality or when not to. I guess would be more accurate.
And it might have been that the 4 people that came in before us they could have been, aggressive, pushy people that said, "Well, can't you put us on a list?" And the guy just accommodated them.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah.
Even though that's not necessarily their policy.
Yeah. I've been in situations like this before, and the best solution, and I mean for the longevity of the restaurant and your staff, is to be consistent.
Yeah.
Be consistent with your clientele, because then you won't. I'm just assuming that if you were able to walk in, you would have been fine, clearly, right? Or say they charge these people $25 per seat for the reservation, right? And that's being consistent, right? If he would have said that to you at the door, like, "Well, this is effectively a reservation, so we followed through with our reservation policy and charged them $25 per seat." So they've effectively reserved these, even though it's kind of a gray area in the bar. Would that have assuaged your...
That would have made me feel better, but I really don't think that happened. And it like really... Go ahead.
Well, the point is that it would have made you feel better.
Yeah.
Like,
'cause
okay, well, they're
'cause
being consistent. They're staying true to their
Yeah.
policy that their publicly stated policy. And if anybody is there, that would be my advice to them is to just stay consistent. You're in demand. You're in demand. That puts you in a position of power where you're able to dictate, right, how your service goes.
Yeah.
And that's very fortunate.
Don't blatantly post on your social media that, hey, I know reservations are booked a month in advance, but bars always first come, first serve. And then, I mean, what if I came from out of town? What if what if I was the type of person that was going to write a nasty Yelp review and then we're back at square one?
So as a customer, does that warrant a review from you?
I'm not going to because I'm not that person, but...
Do you think it's justified in this case? If you were reading their reviews and you came across one like that, do you think that would be justified?
Well, if I was reading their reviews and I saw something like that, I probably would not show up. So therefore, they would start losing people like me that want to go and sit at the bar.
Yeah.
But I think that, stuff like this pisses me off and it makes me want to share with the business what happened so they could do better. And I don't necessarily want to throw them under the bus. And that's just me personally. Like, I don't like to be nasty. If it happened again, I probably, it's like 2 strikes. Like, if I go back this weekend and it happens again, that would be the time for me.
Yeah.
To say something online. But I don't know. It just, I hate that stuff.
Well, yeah, it's inconsistent. It's on, and that's kind of speaks to poor management. I will say, in their defense, reach out to them. You're in the service business. If I come up to you, I'm a service person, and I come up to you and I say, how's your drink? How's your food? And it's bad, and you don't say anything. Mm-hmm. Well, then that's kind of on you at that point, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason I'm asking that. It's sure, in part because I have to, but also because we want to fix things before you leave, before you're pissed. Before you're gone forever.
Yeah.
We want an opportunity to make things right and take the fucking stank off, so to speak, mm-hmm. the bad interaction. So I think, if you like the place and you're invested and potentially in seeing them again, or, wish them well, service people that are there, that reach out, send an email, something like that. Maybe don't put them on blast. If it happens a second time, put them on blast maybe. Which, I guess, how do you feel about reviews in general? My take, I kind of hate them, and I think a lot of people use them as retaliatory. Like, they come in, they act shitty, and then they retaliate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that do it to get something out of it. Like, I do think that the scum of the earth exists out there, that people will legitimately walk up into an establishment, try to not enjoy themselves, coincidentally have a shitty time, or make a stink about something, and then
I think that's rare.
And then all of a sudden it's like, here's a free gift card, come back. And
yeah, at my last job, we actually had a lady that did that 5 times. 5 times.
Yeah, it's a thing.
She came in, she found something wrong, finished her food, finished her drink, complained about it. Young manager, didn't know how to react. Here's a gift card, come back.
Every time she comes back,
she came back,
another gift card.
Clear her plate. And, well, here's the thing. She wouldn't tip. She wouldn't tip us. I waited on her twice. She sat at the bar twice and didn't tip me twice. And she sat at a table a couple other times. She came into I was scheduled to work the bar. I was there opening the bar. She came in, sat down, was the first customer. I was like, I'm not waiting on her.
Yeah. Why would you?
Manager was right there. And I was like, I'm not waiting on her. And he was like, well, you have to, Joe. You have to go over there, greet her, give her a menu, whatever. I was like, no, I don't. It's like, you pay me $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me I have to go deal with this lady who is a known nuisance. Yes. You've given $100 in product to her so far. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for you to wait
Yeah.
on her. You deal
That's
with it.
hard. I don't know what do you do as a business?
Well, that's a customer that needs fired.
Yeah, they shouldn't continue to give her gift cards, but it's hard. I don't know what to say.
Well, that's a customer that needs fired. Once, twice, 3 times. Well, we're clearly we're not living up to the standard that you have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying. There was actually, it's funny how these little conversations stir up more, but there was a situation at the place that we worked at where there was this couple that came in and they didn't tip. They would drink every round they ordered, they would pay cash and they wouldn't leave $1. And I remember the first time it happened, I thought, some people are like, okay, 2 beers at $6. You give them the change and they put it back in their wallet. Like not everybody that sits at a bar necessarily gives $1, or whatever.
Every transaction. Sure. Yeah. Sometimes they'll leave 10 at the end. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
But wishful thinking on my part, that never happened with these two.
Had they come in several times?
Well, okay, so the first time they came in, they did this exact thing. Didn't tip at all. And then when they left, they stole their beer glasses.
Ooh, that's a whole other tangent right
And then
there.
they came back in a second time.
I was working. I think I remember this.
Okay, I was really fired up about this one. Okay, so I think they came in at least a second time.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
And didn't tip.
They were like over the top too, like coming drunk.
Yep, and they're very needy.
Yes.
Didn't tip. So then at that point I went to I can't remember exactly if I went to manager Chad or owner Chad. It might have been both of them. And I said, this is what's happening. They're not tipping. They're stealing. And they said, you can't say anything. You can't say anything. So I just have to swallow that, like, these people fucking coming into my place of work, taking a shit on me and this establishment, walking out the door and coming back next Friday to do this.
They're paying for the beers.
Yeah, but still, it's like...
Right, they're paying for the drinks.
Yeah.
So the business is taken care of.
They're not dining and dashing, but...
And this is where the discrepancy starts, right? Ownership and management, their end's taken care of. If they do nothing...
Yeah, minus their glassware that's being stolen, which I understand is a penny and it's nothing.
Well, it's also, if you have branded glassware, then that's kind of free advertising for them, right? So,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, but here's where ownership and management should put the brakes on stuff like this, because it undermines the people that they trust, allegedly, with the transactions.
Yeah.
It undermines their ability to make a living, i.e. yours, mine, right? Like if these people are being shitty to us. Here's what I've had this conversation very often with managers and as a result of bad transactions. I've literally said to people, we don't have these kind of we don't talk like this. I've talked to managers and owners. You and I would never have this conversation in the 90 good transactions that I had prior to this. You've trusted me. Why don't you trust me with the bad ones? Why? Why is it all of a sudden I am negligent in some way?
Yeah.
There's 90 transactions that have been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then this one, and all of a sudden you feel like you need to correct something on a stranger's word. You know me, right? I'm a known quantity, and this is a stranger's word, and you have to correct me based on that. Mm-hmm. That undermines the trust that is supposed to be built into this relationship, And as that goes on, that if you continue to have those did I say erections? You continue to have those interactions. We'll just leave it in. We'll leave it in. We don't have a problem with erections here.
No.
No.
But if you continue to have those interactions with your staff, and your staff continues to have those interactions with management, and this goes back to what you and I were talking about in the first episode, right? They have this policy. They undermine your position in these little microtransactions. And that builds up with you, right? Because I think if you're for me, I'll just speak from my own perspective. I give a fuck about what I do. I give a fuck about the actual functions of my job.
Yeah.
I want to give people good products. I want to give them good service. I want to make sure that the place is clean. I want to make sure that, people are having a good time and they feel welcome and comfortable, and I know when I'm fucking up, right? I know when I'm being deficient in that. Sorry, I've been drinking. I'm forgetting my point now.
It's okay. No, I think it's just like, I think what sucks is, I think you and I relate in this, but we both care, like no matter, like at the end of the day, we both care about our job, and I always care about
I consider myself a professional.
Yeah, and I always cared about the place that I worked at. So to have like a serious issue, whether it's my colleague, whether it's the Nina that I work with, whether it's a customer that's coming in, and I'm going to my management or my ownership with these legitimate frustrations because I care about the place. I care about the establishment as a whole.
Yeah.
And myself. I have respect for myself. And I have these frustrations and they're not being heard. It's sort of like, well, then why the fuck do I care about anything? Why,
right, exactly.
Then why am you could come in and drink 5 beers and I only charge you for 2 then if I'm not going to care. If I'm going to start not caring.
Right.
Like, I just think that
if they don't trust you.
There's just this fine line with, okay, you're trusting me with correctly ringing up customers' orders. You're trusting me with fucking counting the drawer, locking up at night, all these things that are detrimental to the business.
In our shared experience, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of transactions.
But I come to you with one thing in like maybe every 6 months that I have something that I want addressed, and you just brush it under the rug because it wouldn't be good for the business to address it. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, in their opinion.
Yeah.
Right. I think, if anyone's confused, we're now talking about Nina again, bad Nina. And I think in that case, she objectively was not good for the business.
Yeah.
She was negligent in her duties on every single level. Late for work, significantly, every single shift. Not helping her cohorts. Giving drinks away.
To better herself.
Opening the business up to liabilities by overserving people. Mm-hmm. Pissing customers off. En masse, like a lot. As many as she was retaining. Mm-hmm. At least. She was not good for the business. So for them to make decisions, to, I don't know, fucking protect her or what? I don't know.
She was liquid gold to them for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was really weird. I think this is important to say. I'm getting pretty fucking buzzed. I'm on my 3rd drink, so I may be losing the plot a little bit.
Hell yeah, brother.
What? 2 hours?
You've been on for 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
We need to get better sign language.
Yeah. We may need a whiteboard.
Yeah, and the way you do it's backwards to us, so it's a little bit confusing. No, that's still
I'm still confused.
Correct, yeah.
I'm still confused.
It's like the more drinks we have, ideals.
Yeah. We'll lose the plot. Oh.
Did you notice earlier today I said "Oh mis gatos" in text via text?
I did.
"Oh mis gatos" via text.
Yeah, what's that mean, Michelle Smith?
A restaurant that I used to work at, the guys in the kitchen used to say it. It's just like something that like Mexican people say. I don't want to like, not as a whole.
Yeah.
Maybe, but the guys, they said it and it means basically like, oh my God. But oh mis gatos is oh my cats.
Yeah.
But it's basically, they would say whenever they were pissed off at me, like, if I put stuff in, if I didn't ring something in and I need it from them, oh mis gatos. I love those guys. Honestly, like, that was one of the best experiences of my life, so much so that one of the guys in the kitchen had a son, and I named my cat after his son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were close.
Yeah. Well, and they're historically underpaid, right?
Kitchen guys, yeah.
Kitchen guys are, yeah. And this is kind of another tangent that I wanted to address, and that's underpaid kitchen employees, and what it ultimately means. I guess this relates back to tipping, right? Would you be okay with the place that doesn't tip, or that doesn't accept tips, and or distributes tips, throughout the entire staff evenly, right? That means if you're a bartender there, you make less, but the kitchen makes more, but the customer pays the same. Are you okay with that?
I don't know. That's hard.
Right? Because that's you. Not so much these days, but that was kind of there was kind of like a bit of a groundswell, I guess. I don't know if you've seen any of this stuff, but there were places that existed. I don't know. You're on the socials, right? But were places that were saying, well, we don't leave tips at the table. Tips are distributed. We're getting rid of tipping.
Mm-hmm.
We charge appropriately for our things. That means wait staff makes the same as kitchen staff. But that means that they're all making 15, 17, 18 bucks an hour. But that means, right, when I was a waiter, I never made less than, I averaged lifetime roughly $22 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So in that paradigm, that means I'm making less, right? The kitchen people may be making more, but the customer pays the same. And I think in an equitable, so would you get rid of tipping in that instance? Like,
well, it's hard because it's, I think that a lot of people look at it as they don't think about the people in the kitchen, like the servers and the bartenders are the face of the business, therefore they should get the majority of the money. A lot of times, I think a lot of people go into places and they don't think about the people in the kitchen making their money. They're just assuming it's like, oh, it's like a ghost is making their food. Like it just comes out magically. And why should I have to pay them also? I'm already paying the person that I'm interacting with. Does that make sense? Like I don't think that a lot of people realize that people in the kitchen don't make a lot of money to begin with.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons that their food is so cheap.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go to a place like Applebee's, then, I don't know what the fuck they serve at Applebee's, but you're paying...
Everything's in a microwave.
You're paying $7 or $8 for an appetizer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would say more than that.
More than that?
Oh, yeah. Applebee's is not... Applebee's... What? Applebee's is expensive.
I haven't
Considering?
I haven't been in a fucking Applebee's in... I couldn't even tell you.
The
20
last
years?
the last time I went to an Applebee's.
Wait,
Gird your loins.
Wait.
It was last week. So I used to be obsessed with the quesadilla cheeseburger. There was a name for it, but it was like layers of tortilla and cheeseburger meat.
This isn't Applebee's offering.
It's on their menu. Check it out. It's really good. It's literally I think it's 1,200 calories or something. It's really bad for
Holy
you.
shit.
Yeah, but so is everything on their menu. That's another thing. Don't put your calories on the menu if they're all going to be outlandish. There's. I feel like
I'm only eating once today.
Applebee's is one of those places that the salad's 1,900 calories, but the cheeseburger's 1,500. It's well, why wouldn't I get the cheeseburger? Why? What are you putting in this salad to make it so bad for me?
Salads go in the microwave at Applebee's.
But no, but I do think that Applebee's is expensive. I think that quesadilla cheeseburger I'm referring to is $18-$20. It's
damn.
It's not cheap. So
yeah, well, they're not passing that on to their kitchen staff.
no way.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah. Well, and I think even nice places, they don't necessarily pass those things on to their kitchen staff.
Tips.
So, well, the cost of their food, right?
Yeah.
The ownership wants to, But I think in the the thing that I'm speaking to, right, where there was a groundswell of people trying to get rid of tips for one reason, for whatever reason, and I was always against it because that means I'm taking a pay cut, right? You know, and ultimately, oh my God, 1,630 calories. Well, it's only $13.
Yeah, it's more reasonable.
Yeah. Part burger, part quesadilla, all taste. Applebee's, I'll take your money if you want to add. If you want to fucking advertise here.
As good as it sounds.
This original burger creation comes piled high with 2 slices of pepper jack cheese, our signature Mexi Ranch sauce, crispy applewood smoked bacon, house-made pico de gallo, and shredded lettuce, and a crisp, warm cheddar quesadilla served with fries. It looks atrocious.
You had me at Mexi Ranch. Is that what you said? Mexi Ranch?
Oh, and they served it on a board. Like, that was cool in, like, 2010, maybe, serving things on boards. Do you guys remember that shit?
Yeah, I remember that shit. Anyway, so that's my order of choice next time I'm at Applebee's.
Yeah. Well, I think please don't ever go back to an Applebee's. Okay. Or I mean, do what you want. I'm just saying. Anyways, I think in the getting rid of the tipping. I think if you want to support kitchen people, if you're an owner out there and you want to support kitchen people, you have to raise the prices on your food, right? If you have to steal from Peter to pay Paul, then you're not really doing business right.
Yeah, it's not right.
And I've bartending is a middle class, barely middle class income when all things are hitting. I don't want to give that up. So for me, the obvious choice was always that the customer has to pay at this point. And it's the real cost of food. It's the real cost of doing business. But ownership is constantly trying to pit customer against their staff, against their supplier, and is trying to stay out of the fray to maintain their profits. Yeah, I don't know. That's another tangent I may have to discuss when I'm sober. to make a clear thought or two. How are you feeling at this point?
I feel good.
Yeah, well, 3 drinks. You're 2 below your limit.
I'm 2 below my limit. It's always like just right. The three drinks to me.
Yeah. Did we fully cover your perspective on flirting with bar staff?
Do you want to circle back?
Well, I feel like mine's pretty simple. I feel like guys out there need to. You okay? We good? I feel like guys. I think we didn't talk about if you're a customer. Let's say, for instance, hypothetical. Has there ever been a bartender that you've been interested, or someone that's waited on you? How would you approach them? Would you approach them?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I've only done it once, I guess.
Okay.
And I got rejected, so maybe that's why I didn't continue to do it.
You got rejected?
Yeah, can you believe it? Me, this face, Michelle Smith, rejected.
I mean, honestly, I'm glad it happened. It'll bring you down a notch.
Well, rejected in that, I gave him my number and I unsolicitedly gave them my number.
Did you preempt it at all? Were you like, hey? Or did you just leave it and then take off and not say anything?
Yeah, that's what I did. So maybe that's why.
Oh, maybe it just wasn't that into you.
Yeah. And that happens. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I continue to see that guy. Actually, he is a friend.
Wait, currently?
He's a friend of a Chad that comes in, and I continued to see him. And it was like, so this was like years ago. I was like in college at a bar, and like he was bartending, and then he coincidentally was friends with, and I would continue to see him, and it's like,
Yeah. Well, so as a guy and as a customer of many bars and restaurants, I would just never ever do it. Absolutely not.
Never hit on somebody.
Not a female bartender. Never. Because I know just women in general have way more access to the opposite sex than the inverse, than men to women. Right? Guys are just generally more thirsty than women are. And I again, I'm no archaeologist. I don't know how to explain this, but that's just been my observation. Now, women bartenders are a whole other beast. They have, if it's possible, twice as much access, right? And I'm sure you've witnessed this.
Yeah.
Than the average, just street woman, like woman in the wild, a wild woman, I guess, street woman.
Homeless women.
The margaritas are having their effect. They're doing their job. But I just would never, ever, ever, ever do it. And I guess I never went to a bar because I was attracted to someone either, right? Because I wanted to, I went there because I wanted to drink. And it was like icing on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah, just a coincidence.
That there was an attractive person behind the bar. And I've had bartenders hit on me before, and I always felt really fucking weird about it. Like, is this real, or are you just trying to get me to spend more money?
Yeah, as a customer.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I resent it almost. It's like, even when, so I worked a private event last night, Monday, and is this faux pas?
No,
Yeah.
this is good.
So I worked a private event, and it's a regular of the place where I currently work, and excuse me, he has a ton of attractive people that work for him, mostly women. There was one young lady. She was particularly my type. Big eyes, far apart, very horsey, right? And
What?
young, dark
Big
hair.
eyes far apart.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. But like Uma Thurman, like if Uma Thurman were brunette,
Okay.
she was reminiscent of that. Anyways, she came in, it's getting lit. We called last call. We closed the gentleman who was hosting the event. We closed his tab. He came up to me specifically and was like, "We're done. We're done with this. Like, no more drinks on my tab. If they want shit, they're paying for it." Right? And that's where my obligation, begins and ends with him. But she wanted another drink, and she was wearing this low cut top.
Oh.
She put him out on the bar and squeezed him together as women do.
No, she didn't.
And she was like, "Well, can I get another drink?" I was like, "Well, Chad's tab."
Chad Daddy's closed.
Well, not Chad Daddy, but
Chad Daddy's tab
I was
is
like,
closed.
"Chad's tab is closed." It's like, "So if you want another drink, you have to pay for it." And she squeezed them together further, leaned closer.
Ow, this is your
and
imagination.
No. This actually happened.
Women don't do this.
Bullshit, they don't.
Oh my God.
And she winked.
No,
she
she
She winked
didn't.
and she goes, "Is it closed? It's closed. She's like, "Can you check?" And I was like, "No, it's closed." And then the guy, who was Chad's accountant, was like,
Chad's account.
she was Chad's accountant, Chad's accountant, was like,
Chad's accountant, Chad.
"I'll get it." Yeah, exactly. "I'll get this round." He's like, we have to pay for it, right? I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get you. You can have more beer." Chad doesn't want to pay for it
Someone's
anymore.
got to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not going to be
So,
your mama.
but women do that often. I've sat in interviews where I've been the interviewer, and women have come in, and a good 6 to 7 inches of cleavage.
No.
Yes. And I resent that. It's like, well, don't try to manipulate me. I don't want to be manipulated.
I'm at work.
I'm at work and I need a roll filled. But this lady, as soon as she tried to be cute, I was completely done with the interaction. I was like, "Well, no, bitch, like that's not how this is going to work.
Yeah.
You don't respect me. You're trying to manipulate me." And that's how I look at those things.
Yeah.
I forget how we got here again. Sorry, I'm
That's
going way
okay.
off the rails.
No, that's what this is all about.
Flirting.
We're supposed to
Yeah,
enjoy
no,
ourselves.
there's good flirting, and then this is bad flirting, is what I would say. Bad flirting. Don't try to mine me for resources, right? That's not ever going to work. Like I've never been a fan of strip clubs. I've never been a fan of. So I guess, right, if you're a female bartender and you start flirting with me in particular, I'm just going to get
Don't.
fucking defensive. And I'm like, I don't fucking trust you. This is weird. I'm leaving.
Abort the mission.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So well, I just don't want to be manipulated.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, I feel like it's transactional and I don't want to fuck with it in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So are we going for another? Is there anything that you wanted to get off your chest here, Carl?
I think that I covered all my bases. I mean, I talked about my past dating life, What else is there?
That was a lot. I can't believe that you actually, Michelle Smith, we have to make this.
Yeah. That was
We have to
really
figure
funny.
out who Michelle Smith actually is.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
College, man, what a wild time. I don't know. I have this joke with my friends that we're like, why were we allowed to do that? Like, it just seems like something illegal happened. Like, I had my own money, I was working and I had my own money and I was doing these things, and it just seemed like, why am I allowed to live on my own? Was I old enough to behave like this? And these men, and it's just all, college is a crazy
It was too
thing.
much power, I think, for you.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of illegal behavior is through the roof. Just
Well,
put it
that's
there.
something we should talk about maybe in the next pod.
Hashtag college and
Well,
underage drinking.
Jess brought it up, underage drinking,
Yeah.
I think the statute of limitations is expired at this point. It's safe to bring up. Our lawyer will
I'm
confirm
happy
with
to
our
get
lawyer.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, I think, did you want another drink?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. This is probably a good time to end it, right? Hour and a half, something like that. I had a good time tonight. Did you have a good time?
I had a blast.
I felt like I got to know you a lot more.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about.
That's what this is all
It's not
about.
about the listeners.
I mean, it really isn't.
It's really not. Like, it's,
You're nice. I don't want to disparage any of you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this time with us.
but it's mostly about us. It's all about us having a good time.
Yeah, it's like 40%. Anyways, my name's Joe,
This is Kara, aka Carl, aka Michelle Smith,
aka Carl, aka Michelle Smith.
signing off.
Well, first, Bottomless Bar. You can find us. Share your experiences with us, right? If you're a woman, you've worked in the service industry, you have a particularly interesting story, reach out to us. We'll share it on the pod. We'll answer your questions if you have a weird situation, weren't quite sure how to navigate it. Bottomlessbar.1@gmail.com. Twitter @bottomlessbar. Instagram @bottomlessbar. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. This is Joe. Hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time. Thanks.